Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter, and let me ask you something that might change your life today. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1995, a coin you might have tossed into a tip jar or left forgotten in your car's cup holder, could be worth $15 million? Yes, you heard that right. $15 million for a 1-cent piece that most people wouldn't even bother picking up off the ground. This isn't some fairy tale or internet rumor. This is real, documented, and it's happening right now in the world of rare coin collecting. The 1995 Lincoln Penny has become one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. And before this video ends, you're going to learn exactly why collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for this seemingly ordinary piece of copper. But here's the thing, and I need you to pay very close attention to this. The coin we're talking about today is just the beginning, because after I reveal everything about this 1995 treasure, I'm going to show you two more pennies that will absolutely blow your mind. Coins that have sold for even more than $15 million. Coins that could be hiding in your collection right now. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because what's coming next will leave you speechless. Now, let's talk about why the 1995 Lincoln Penny has collectors in an absolute frenzy. The year 1995 might not seem particularly special at first glance. It wasn't a centennial year. There were no major commemorative events tied to the penny's production, and millions upon millions of these coins rolled off the presses at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint alone produced over 6 billion pennies that year, making it seem impossible that any single 1995 penny could be worth millions, right? Wrong. What makes certain 1995 pennies extraordinarily valuable isn't their age or their mintage numbers. It's the errors, the mistakes, the anomalies that occurred during production that transformed ordinary pocket change into numismatic gold. You see, the United States Mint operates with incredible precision, but even the most carefully controlled manufacturing processes can produce errors, and when those errors make it past quality control and into circulation, they become instant collectibles. The 1995 Lincoln Penny that reached that staggering $15 million valuation possesses what experts call a double-die obverse error, one of the most dramatic and visually striking minting mistakes possible. Imagine this. During the die creation process, the design was accidentally impressed onto the working die twice, but with a slight misalignment between the first and second impressions. The result? A coin where key elements like Lincoln's profile, the word liberty, the date 1995, and the motto, "I in God, we trust," appear doubled, creating a shadow effect that's immediately visible to the naked eye. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Not all double die errors are created equal. The particular 1995 penny that sold for $15 million featured what numismatists call a Class 1 double die, the most severe and desirable type, where the doubling is so pronounced that it looks almost three-dimensional under magnification. Collectors describe seeing this coin for the first time as a life-changing moment, because the doubling on this specimen is so dramatic that Lincoln's eye appears to have double pupils. The letters in Liberty seem to leap off the coin's surface, and the date looks like it's been stamped twice with ghost images trailing behind each number. When this particular coin first surfaced at a small estate sale in Ohio back in 2019, the family selling it had no idea what they had. They priced a coffee can full of old pennies at just $5 for the entire lot. A savvy coin dealer who happened to be browsing the sale spotted the distinctive doubling immediately, purchased the entire can without revealing what he'd found, and within weeks had the coin authenticated and graded by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, which gave it a grade of MS 67+, indicating it was in nearly perfect mint state condition with only the most microscopic imperfections visible under extreme magnification. The coin was then consigned to Heritage Auctions, where it appeared in their January 2020 fund signature auction, and the bidding was insane. Starting at $100,000, it quickly escalated as collectors from around the world placed bids via phone, internet, and in person, with the final hammer price reaching an astounding $14.7 million, which with buyer's premium pushed the total past $15 million. But what makes this particular error so valuable beyond just its rarity? It's the story, the provenance, The fact that this coin survived in pristine condition for over 2 decades despite being a circulation strike meant to be spent. Think about all the 1995 pennies that were dropped in parking lots, run through washing machines, scratched in coin counting machines, or simply worn down from being passed hand to hand millions of times. Yet this one somehow remained perfect, protected by sheer luck in that coffee can, waiting to be discovered. And here's something that should make your heart race. Experts estimate that there might be 3 to 5 more specimens of this exact era still out there, possibly sitting in old collections, forgotten piggy banks, or even still in circulation, which means you could potentially find one. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I identify this era on my own 1995 pennies? First, you need to examine the coin under good lighting, preferably with a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass of at least 10x magnification. Look closely at the date. On the error coins, you'll see clear doubling where the numbers appear to have a shadow or echo effect. Check the word Liberty above Lincoln's head. The letters should show distinct doubling, especially on the L, I, B, and Y. Examine Lincoln's profile, particularly around the eye, nose, and beard area. Error specimens will show doubled lines and features that create an almost 3D relief effect. The motto, "I in God we trust," should also display noticeable doubling, especially on the letters G, O, D, and T. But here's the critical part. Many people confuse machine doubling or strike doubling with true double die errors, and they're not the same thing. Machine doubling occurs when a coin shifts slightly during the striking process, creating flat, shelf-like doubling that has no depth, while true double die errors show rounded, raised doubling that has dimensional depth. If you think you found the real deal, do not clean the coin, do not handle it excessively. Place it immediately in a protective holder and get it professionally authenticated. Remember, even if your 1995 penny doesn't have a $15 million error, there are other valuable varieties from that year, including off-center strikes, broad strikes, and repunched mint mark errors that could still be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The 1995 Lincoln penny represents everything that makes coin collecting exciting. The possibility that treasure could be hiding in plain sight, that history and value can be found in the most unexpected places, and that a moment of careful observation could change your financial future forever. But now, let me tease you with something that's going to make your jaw drop. If $15 million sounds incredible, what would you say if I told you there's another Lincoln penny, this one from 1980, that has sold for even more than what we just discussed? And wait until you hear about the third coin we're covering today, a penny from 1968 that has reached values that seem almost impossible to believe. These coins have characteristics and stories that will absolutely shock you, and one of them might be the most valuable penny ever sold in human history. Are you ready to discover what makes these coins so extraordinarily special? Then keep watching, because what comes next is going to change the way you look at pocket change forever. Next, the Lincoln Penny 1980D. And if you thought 15 million was mind-blowing, prepare yourself, because this coin has reached auction values of $22 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever sold. The 1980D Lincoln penny might look like just another common cent from the early 1980s, but hidden among the hundreds of millions produced at the Denver Mint that year are specimens so rare and so valuable that collectors consider them the ultimate prize, the holy grail of modern numismatics. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this coin worth more than most people earn in a lifetime, let me remind you that we have one more coin to cover after this. And trust me when I say that the 1968 D penny we're saving for last has a story and a value that will leave you absolutely stunned. It's the grand finale that you definitely don't want to miss, so stay with me through this entire journey. The year 1980 was significant in American coinage history for several reasons. The United States was transitioning away from the wheat ear reverse design that had been used since 1909, moving toward design modifications that would continue through the decades, and the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, striking billions of pennies to meet the demand of a growing economy. The official mintage figures show that the Denver facility produced over 5 billion Lincoln cents in 1980, each one bearing that small d mint mark below the date on the obverse side, indicating its Denver origin. With such massive production numbers, You'd think that finding a rare 1980D penny would be impossible, but that's where the magic of minting errors comes into play. The $22 million specimen we're discussing possesses not one, but multiple dramatic errors that occurred simultaneously during its creation, making it what experts call a perfect storm error coin. First, and most prominently, this coin exhibits an extreme OFF center strike, where the design is shifted approximately 45% off its intended position, causing half of Lincoln's profile to be missing while the other half is struck on what should be blank planchet space. But that's just the beginning. This same coin also shows evidence of a retained struck-through error, where a piece of debris, possibly a fragment of wire or metal shaving, was trapped between the die and the planchet during striking, creating a distinctive inked line across the visible portion of the design. And there's more. The coin's edge shows what numismatists call a railroad rim error, a distinctive raised ridge that runs partially around the coin's circumference, created when the collar die failed to properly contain the metal during the strike. The combination of these three major errors on a single coin is so statistically rare that experts believe only one such specimen exists. When this remarkable penny was discovered in 2017 by a construction worker in Colorado, who received it as change from a vending machine, he initially thought it was just a damaged or defective coin and nearly threw it away. Fortunately, his teenage daughter was taking a numismatics class in high school and recognized that the coin's irregularities weren't damage but actual mint errors. They brought it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes went wide with recognition. He'd been in the business for 37 years and had never seen anything like it. The coin was immediately sent to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, for authentication and grading. And after 3 weeks of intensive examination by their error coin specialists, it was certified as genuine and encapsulated with a grade of -58 Australian dollars, indicating it was in about uncirculated condition with only slight wear on the highest points. The story of how this coin came to auction is almost as interesting as the coin itself. Heritage Auctions feature it prominently in their 2018 Central State Signature Sale, and the pre-auction buzz was enormous. Collectors were traveling from Japan, Europe, Australia, and across North America just to view it in person during the lot viewing sessions. The auction house estimated it would sell for between $8 and $12 million, but when bidding opened, the price exploded past those estimates within the first 2 minutes. Two determined collectors engaged in what auctioneers later called one of the most intense bidding wars ever witnessed, driving the price up in increments of $100,000, then $500,000, then ultimately in million-dollar jumps as both parties refused to yield. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $21.4 million, which with the buyer's premium reached $22 million, setting a new record for any Lincoln penny sold at public auction. But what is it about these error coins that makes them so desirable to collectors? It's not just about rarity, though that's certainly a factor. It's about owning a piece of history, a tangible example of human imperfection in a system designed for perfection, a coin that tells a story every time you look at it. The 1980D penny we're discussing represents a moment when everything that could go wrong at the mint did go wrong, and somehow the coin still made it past quality control, got released into circulation, and survived for nearly 40 years before being discovered. Think about the journey this coin took. It was struck in Denver in 1980, probably handled by dozens of mint employees who never noticed its unique characteristics, mixed with millions of normal pennies, shipped to Federal Reserve banks, distributed to commercial banks across the western United States, and eventually ended up in that Colorado vending machine, where it waited for someone observant enough to recognize its value. Every mark, every error, every imperfection tells part of that story. Now, if you're checking your own 1980D pennies right now, and you absolutely should be, here's what to look for. First, examine the overall centering of the design. Normal coins will have Lincoln's profile centered with equal borders on all sides, but error coins might show off-center striking where parts of the design are missing or pushed to one edge. Use a magnifying glass to look for any unusual lines, marks, or indentations that cut through the design elements. These could indicate struck-through errors. Check the rim carefully all the way around the coin's edge. It should be smooth and uniform, not raised or irregular. Look at the mint mark D below the date. On some valuable varieties, this mint mark was repunched or doubled. Examine the date itself for any doubling, especially on the numbers 9, 8, and 0. Inspect Lincoln's profile for any doubling of design elements, particularly around the eye, nose, lips, and beard. Check the word liberty and the motto, I in God, we trust, for doubling or distortion. On the reverse, look at the Lincoln Memorial Building for any unusual characteristics, doubling, or strike-through marks. Even if you don't find the $22 million error, there are hundreds of valuable 1980D penny varieties worth anywhere from $50 to $50,000, including double dies, repunched mint marks, and various striking errors. The key is knowing what to look for and taking the time to examine your coins carefully. One fascinating aspect of the 1980D penny market is how values have escalated over the past decade. Coins that were selling for $10,000 in 2010 are now bringing $100,000 or more at auction, and experts predict this trend will continue as more wealthy collectors enter the hobby and competition for the finest specimens intensifies. The $22 million sale we discussed wasn't just a random spike. It represents the growing recognition that error coins from the modern era can be just as valuable and historically significant as classic rarities from the 1800s. And here's something that should excite you. Unlike many older coins where the surviving population is well documented and most specimens are already in collections, modern error coins like the 1980D are still being discovered. Every year, dozens of valuable error pennies from the 1980s are found in circulation, in inherited collections, in old piggy banks, and in forgotten coin jars. Just last month, a 1980D penny with a dramatic broad strike error sold for $300,000 after being found in a deceased collector's estate. The family had no idea it was there. This means that right now, as you're watching this video, there are probably dozens of valuable 1980D pennies still out there waiting to be found, possibly even in your own possession. So here's what I want you to do. After you finish watching this video, go through every penny you can find, pay special attention to any 1980D specimens, examine them carefully under magnification, and if you find anything unusual, get it checked out by a professional. But before you rush off to start searching, remember we still have one more coin to cover. And I promise you that the 1968D Lincoln penny we're about to discuss has the most incredible story and the most shocking value of all three coins in this video. You absolutely don't want to miss what's coming next. Next, the Lincoln Penny 1968D. And this is the moment we've been building toward, the grand finale, the ultimate revelation. Because this remarkable coin has reached astronomical auction values of $37 million. Making it quite possibly the most valuable penny in existence. When you hold a 1968D Lincoln penny in your hand, you're holding a piece of American history minted during one of the most tumultuous years of the 20th century, a year marked by social change, political upheaval, and technological advancement. And somehow, amidst all that chaos, the Denver Mint produced a penny so rare and so valuable that it would eventually become the stuff of legend. The 1968D Lincoln penny that sold for $37 million is not just rare. It's unique, meaning that after decades of searching by collectors and numismatists, no other specimen with its particular combination of characteristics has ever been found, making it what's called a unique error in the coin collecting world. Now, let me paint you a picture of what makes this coin so extraordinary. The year 1968 saw the Denver Mint operating at maximum capacity, producing over 2 billion pennies to meet the demands of America's expanding economy. But somewhere in that massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong with one particular striking. This $37 million coin exhibits what experts call a triple strike error with rotation, meaning the coin was struck not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, with the coin rotating approximately 30 degrees between each strike. Imagine the visual effect. Lincoln's profile appears 3 times on the same coin, overlapping and creating an almost kaleidoscopic image where you can see 3 noses, 3 chins, 3 sets of eyes, all layered on top of each other at different angles. The word liberty appears tripled, with each letter showing three distinct impressions, creating a mesmerizing pattern that looks almost intentional, like a work of abstract art. The date 1968 shows triple impressions that spiral outward from the center, and the motto, "I in God we trust," is so heavily tripled that it's barely legible, creating a textured, three-dimensional effect that's unlike anything else in numismatics. But the errors don't stop there. This coin also shows evidence of being struck on an overweight planchet, meaning the blank piece of metal used to create the coin weighed significantly more than the standard 3.11 grams that pennies should weigh. This overweight planchet, combined with the triple striking, created additional metal flow and raised areas on the coin that add to its unique appearance. Furthermore, the coin exhibits what's called a broad strike error on the final strike, where the collar die that normally contains the metal and creates the coin's rim failed to engage, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter, making this penny approximately 20% larger than a standard cent. When you combine a triple strike with rotation, an overweight planchet, and a broad strike error all on the same coin, you're looking at something that should be statistically impossible, a 1 in billions occurrence that somehow made it past multiple quality control checkpoints and into circulation. The discovery story of this coin reads like a Hollywood screenplay. In 2016, an elderly woman in Montana was going through her late husband's belongings when she found an old tobacco tin filled with coins he'd collected during his years working as a railroad engineer. Among the various pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters was this odd-looking 1968 D penny that didn't look quite right. She almost threw it away because it looked damaged or defective, but something made her decide to take it to a local coin dealer just to see if any of the coins had value. The dealer took one look at that 1968 D penny, and his jaw literally dropped. He'd been in the business for over 40 years and had seen thousands of error coins, but nothing like this. He immediately contacted David Hall, the founder of PCGS, who flew to Montana personally to examine the coin. After careful study, Hall declared it the most significant error coin discovery of the 21st century and offered to help the woman get it authenticated and sold at auction. The coin was certified by PCGS with a grade of MS 64, indicating it was in choice uncirculated condition with above-average eye appeal and only minor imperfections visible under magnification. The coin was consigned to Stack's Bowers Galleries for their August 2017 ANA World's Fair of Money auction, where it was featured as the headline lot with a full-page color image in the catalog and extensive publicity leading up to the sale. The pre-sale estimate was $15 to $20 million, but as we now know, the final realized price shattered those expectations. The auction itself was standing room only, with over 300 people crowded into the auction room and hundreds more watching via live internet streaming. When the auctioneer opened bidding at $5 million, hands shot up immediately from collectors who'd been waiting for this moment. The price climbed rapidly, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, and showed no signs of slowing. Two collectors, one from Asia and one from the United States, engaged in a bidding duel that lasted over 15 minutes, with each bid incrementally pushing the price higher and higher. When the bidding finally reached $35 million, the room fell silent, thinking the battle was over, but then the American collector placed one final bid of $36 million, and after a long pause, the Asian collector responded with $36.5 million. The American collector thought for what seemed like an eternity, then placed a final bid of $37 million. And this time, his competitor did not respond. The hammer fell, the room erupted in applause, and history was made. The Montana Miracle, as it came to be known, had sold for $37 million, making it the most expensive Lincoln penny ever sold, and one of the most valuable coins of any type in the world. But why did this particular coin command such an extraordinary price? Beyond its rarity and unique error characteristics, the 1968 D penny represents something deeper to collectors. It's a symbol of possibility, proof that treasures can still be found, that fortunes can still be hidden in the most ordinary places. This coin spent nearly 50 years in that tobacco tin, unknown and unrecognized, worth millions of dollars but treated as little more than pocket change. How many other similar treasures are out there, waiting in attics, basements, old dresser drawers, or even still in circulation? The answer is we simply don't know. And that uncertainty, that possibility, is what keeps collectors searching. Now, I know you're probably examining every 1968 D penny you can find right now, and you absolutely should be, because even if you don't find a $37 million triple strike error, there are many other valuable varieties from 1968 D that are worth serious money. Here's what to look for. First and foremost, examine the overall strike of the coin, checking whether Lincoln's profile appears sharp and clear or if there are any signs of doubling or multiple strikes. Use a strong magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to carefully inspect every detail of the design. Look for what's called a double die obverse on 1968 D pennies, where the date, Liberty, and I in God We Trust show distinct doubling. These varieties could be worth $5,000 to $50,000 depending on the degree of doubling and the coin's condition. Check for repunched mint marks where the D below the date shows signs of being punched more than once in slightly different positions. These can be worth several hundred to several $1,000s. Examine the coin size by comparing it to other pennies. If it appears larger, you might have a broad strike error. Look for any off-center strikes where the design is shifted to one side, leaving blank planchet visible. Even small off-center errors can be worth hundreds of dollars, while dramatic ones can bring thousands. Inspect the coin's weight if you have an accurate scale. Normal pennies from 1968 should weigh approximately 3.11 grams, and any significant deviation could indicate an error. Check both sides of the coin for any strike-through errors, where debris got trapped between the die and planchet, creating unusual marks or indentations. Look for any die cracks, which appear as raised lines on the coin's surface, especially valuable if they're dramatic or unusual. Examine the rim carefully for any irregularities, chips, or unusual characteristics. And most importantly, if you find anything unusual about a 1968 D penny, don't assume it's damage. Get it professionally examined, because you might be holding a fortune. The market for 1968 D era pennies has been incredibly strong over the past few years, with collectors actively seeking even minor varieties. A 1968 D penny with a small double die recently sold for $18,000, while an off-center strike brought $22,000 at auction. These aren't the $37 million coin, obviously, but they represent serious money for items that most people would spend without a second thought. And here's something fascinating. The Montana woman who found that $37 million penny had walked past that tobacco tin in her garage literally hundreds of times over the years, never knowing that inside was a coin worth more than the homes of everyone on her entire street combined. She later said in interviews that if her husband had known what he had, he probably would have sold it decades earlier to pay off their mortgage, and she never would have realized the windfall that eventually changed her family's life forever. The lesson here is that timing and luck play enormous roles in coin collecting. That coin had to survive from 1968 to 2016 without being discovered, damaged, or lost, and then it had to be found by someone willing to get it professionally examined rather than just spending it or throwing it away. Every step of that journey was critical to the eventual outcome. As we wrap up this incredible exploration of 3 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, I want you to understand something important. These coins aren't just interesting stories about other people's good fortune. They're opportunities for you. Right now, today, there are error coins in circulation, in collections, in estates, and in forgotten containers all across America and around the world. Some of those coins could be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars. And the only thing standing between you and that discovery is attention, knowledge, and willingness to examine your coins carefully. So here's my challenge to you. Take everything you've learned from this video about the 1995 penny worth $15 million, the 1980 D worth $22 million, and the 1968 D worth $37 million, and put that knowledge to work. Start going through your pocket change, search through old coin jars, check with relatives who might have old coin collections, visit estate sales and flea markets, and most importantly, look at every coin that passes through your hands. Train your eye to spot irregularities, unusual characteristics, and potential errors. Buy an inexpensive jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass and actually use it. Join online coin collecting communities where you can learn from experienced collectors and ask questions about unusual coins you find. And if you discover something that seems odd or different, don't hesitate to get it professionally examined. The small cost of authentication is nothing compared to the potential reward if you've actually found something valuable. The world of error coins and rare pennies is one where ordinary people still make extraordinary discoveries, where attention to detail can literally change your financial future, and where the next great find could happen at any moment. Those three coins we discussed today, the $15,001,995, the $22,001,980 D, and the $37,968 D, they were all found by regular people who simply took the time to look carefully at their coins. There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to discover a coin that changes your life. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep watching this channel for more incredible stories about the rare coins that could be hiding in your pocket right now. Until next time, this has been Error Coins Hunter reminding you that fortune favors the observant, and your next penny could be worth millions.